It's me, Renee. I'm back. Sorry. And as you can see from title, this is another original tag. So this tag came about because I found out that Outland. Okay, backing up. So in case you're not Norwegian, or I suppose maybe you are, well maybe you're not Norwegian but still know what it is. In case you don't know what it is, here in Norway, Outland is it's a franchise. I want to say it's a bookstore, but it's not exactly a bookstore. I would call it more like a fandom store. Kind of like in UK you have Forbidden Planet. I don't think there's something equivalent in the US. But anyway, so Outland, it's a store where you kind of sell fandom stuff. So there's huge sections of fantasy books, but there's also science fiction books for kids and adults. Mostly they sell English books because, as most generally, because not a lot of fantasy books exist in Norwegian, but they do have like one shelf of books in Norwegian. They also have lots of Lego. They have board games. They have role playing games. They have lots of different games. So yeah, they have a lot of stuff. They also have, I suppose, depending on which store you go to, but some of them have like big sections of merchandise, and some have like clothes merchandise. So yeah, they have it all. They have mangas. They have comic books. They have more or less everything a fandom heart could inspire, could want. And yeah, of course. Well, it is one of my favorite stores. I love it. Like every time I go into an Outland store, I just get filled with joy because you kind of feel like being a weird is fine here. Because yeah, I mean, yeah, being a fan now is different than 10, 12 years ago, 20 years ago. But still, I would still say like it's still not accepted. So most depends on which circles you are in. But like, if you say, for example, myself, I still love Disney movies, and a friend of mine talked about. I'm not quite sure if she had put off that I could on that I like Disney movies, but she talked just kind of in general that like adults. She said like adults that like Disney movies are childish and stupid, and had like a little rant on that. And I was a bit too scared to mention, like, to talk back to her, but like, I was just kind of thinking, well, Disney movies, I mean, they are good movies. Should it matter that they're made for kids? And also, yeah, they're made for kids, but at the same time, I mean, they wouldn't be so huge if they're just seen by kids. Disney movies generally are a phenomenon. They work on so many levels, like, for example, you have like out, but you have the one from last year, Encanto, which yeah, it's a story about a family and the main characters are kids, but it's also a story about forgiveness. It's all about revolution. I mean, kind of you can kind of see where his story comes into it, and I mean it's so much more than the straightforward kids movie. And also the songs just kind of, I mean, have hit so hard for a lot of people. So I don't know, it just kind of feels degrading to be saying that you can't be over 18 and enjoy a kids movie or Disney movie. Uh, and yeah, I mean, some of them I don't enjoy as much, but a lot of them I do. And yeah, in Outland you can get lots of fun Disney related items. For example, they also have, as I said, lots of fantasy books, lots of science fiction books. So I don't get into all that, but yeah, they have lots of that, those kinds of stuff. So yeah, if you like alternative stuff, so like in Norway, it's kind of normal to read crime. So if you read something that's not crime, you're like, you're so weird. Or like even like, my God, you read more than 2 books a year. You're weird. Like if you read just a fantasy book in general, people are like, oh, you read fantasy, and I kind of think like you're weird. But in Outland, the main things are fantasy based, are fandom based, I would say. So it's a place you can relax and be yourself. At least that's kind of like how I think about it. And yeah, so that's kind of mainly why I love Outland. Uh, of course, different stores have kind of different stuff. Like the one in Oslo, they recently moved, but now it's kind of huge. It's has just so much of everything because it's a big space. The one in Stavanger, it's not small, but it's not as huge, and they focus more on high fantasy. While I kind of gear towards urban fantasy, which in Oslo we have more of, but still enjoy going to one in Stavanger. And yeah, I love Outland, as you can kind of have guessed. And yeah, Outland turns 30 this year, as do I. But yeah, so I kind of decided to like mix those two things with like me turning 30, Outland turning 30, and kind of showing my love for Outland by doing this book tag. Of course, a lot of you won't probably have never been to an Outland, so I kind of think like, well, okay, isn't this kind of very much niche book tag? No, it's not. I mean, you don't really have to have gone there to like be able to answer this prompt. And so yeah, I would say like this is kind of general like a book tag. You could use this book tag like just in general, like if you're a fan of anything, you can do this book tag because I mean yeah, as in with all tags, there's probably something you can't really answer, but I think you can answer some things most of these questions. And yeah, that's a bit of an intro. Yeah, a bit of a long intro, but yeah. And let's get to the prompts. So first, Outland turns 30 this year. So name anything that you loved from 30 years ago. It can be a movie, book, TV series, or it can be all, if you want to mention one of all three, that's fine. I can't check it out, and like, except the one I'm thinking of, like, honestly, there's not like a lot of books from that year, sadly, that I love this one, but it's not really very fandom-ish, so I'm not gonna use it. And TV, there wasn't like stuff, there wasn't anything that was premiering that year that was kind of caught my fancy, like, was like, yeah, why would I watch it that year? But like, there wasn't anything that fandom based that can really mention. But then again, maybe there's something that happened that year, TV or movie wise, book wise, that you really want to mention. But with myself, I'm gonna go with one of my favorite movies. It is Aladdin, the Disney movie, the animated one from 1992. And yeah, it's just an amazing movie. I've had it as one of Disney favorites, and honestly, one of movie favorites for most of my life. Is it because it's as old as me? Not really. Uh, but I mean, it's a fun coincidence. Yeah, it's kind of fun. But yeah, I just love Aladdin. The songs are great. The animation are great. The story is great. Just a lot. I love it so much. I rewatch it every now and then, and it's just, yeah, it's an amazing movie. At least I think so. Side note. But yeah, the one that came out a few years ago, a remake, I enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't, but I really enjoyed it. Also, I really enjoy the two Aladdin sequels, direct to DVD sequels. They were fun. And also, there's been talk about doing doing a sequel to the Aladdin remake, and like from 2016, oh, 20, yeah, the one with Will Smith. I kind of would like more of it. Really, I think that would be fun. There doesn't seem to be happening anything yet. Like we don't have concrete news, but yeah, I'm excited. If that happens, I'll definitely be first one to see it. And then, yeah, moving back to the tag. Favorite high fantasy book, because fantasy often you have high fantasy. Though I mean, this bookstore also have other stuff. And I am gonna give me a moment. Yeah. So here I can mention a few. I could mention Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson. I really enjoy that one. Really love that one. I could mention Finnegan of the Rock by uh, like an author's name, Malina Machata. I'm gonna go with one I talked about before, but I mean it is a really good one. It is Fire by Kristen Cashore. I love this universe in general, but I really love this story in itself. I'm thinking like, at least for me, Fire she kind of a bit more not relates, connects a bit more to me than I'm blanking out than blanking out. What is the name of than Katsa from the first one in this? But I really enjoy that one as well. But yeah, a really good high fantasy read. Check it out if you haven't. Now the next prompt is favorite urban fantasy, because yeah, urban fantasy is also quite legit fantasy. Often people who don't really are into fantasy, they think like, oh, all fantasy is high fantasy. No, there's so much more than that. I suppose I could have gone like with favorites, historical, and etc., but I'm starting to just kind of do favorite high fantasy and urban fantasy. Now here, you could ask yourself, well, urban fantasy, so it has to be set in a city. Okay, so I suppose also this is kind of like a bit more favorite urban fantasy slash paranormal fantasy, because the one I mentioned, it's not really set in a city, but it's set in our world. So I'm gonna go with Vampire Academy by Michelle Mead, one of my all-time favorite series ever. It's just an amazing series in itself. I've gotten lots of friends from it, lots of good memories. There's coming a TV series that's been finished filming and it's coming next year. Really excited for that. And yeah, this series is just amazing. I would say it's kind of a modern YA classic in a way, really. And yeah, if you haven't read it yet, I urge you to check it out if it's something up your alley, something you might be interested in. And then, sorry. So Outland also kind of they also have usually have a shelf with uh, beautiful editions like fairytale editions, or they have like a shelf of classics and nice editions, whatnot. And often, sometimes books that aren't classics still get fun editions, like you have cent anniversary editions and etc. etc. So here, as question is simply a book you want a special edition of, the one doesn't have it, or a special edition book that you don't own but you want. I mean, it exists out there, but you want to have it. Here, I've been like, okay, there's so much I can say for this. I end up going with the Clockwork Scarab by Colleen Gleason, because I think like if you publish this in like a hardcover version, or I suppose just kind of no, because why would you do another paperback? Because this cover is so beautiful, you wouldn't really, yeah. And usually editions are hardcovers, so you could do hardcover. You could have lots of fun extras uh, with a Q&A. You could have a character focus. There's so much cool fun stuff you can do with this world, like to add to like a fun edition. And yeah, I think that would be very fun, and I would definitely buy it, because yeah, this book is amazing. So yeah, and then as I said again recently, well, as I said before, Outland also sell lots of games. They're famous for they sell Lego, but they also sell lots of board games. They sell both board games of kind of like they sell different Monopoly types like France, Lord of Rings, etc. But they also sell Settlers, Tickets to Ride, all different games. Like usually, Outland has a big game section. So here, simply, I suppose this is not a direct book question, but yeah. The question is favorite board game. And here I'm actually gonna give you a chance to give two answers, because I mean there's so many different kinds of board games. Like I would say, like you have the party games like Charade or Trivial Pursuit and whatnot, and then you have Ticket to Ride, Settlers, which are kind of more board games. It's kind of more strategic games. So I suppose I'm gonna mix this prompt in two. So favorite party game and favorite strategic board game. With favorite party game, I'm gonna go with Codenames. I love that so much. Kind of weird because I love it so much, but I actually only played like maybe 4 times in my life because you kind of need a lot of people to play it, and not everyone. Not everyone I play games with likes that game, and not all the time I can like play that game because you need a lot of people. So yeah, hopefully I'm gonna play that soon with my family. Uh, but yeah, whenever I play it, I just love it so much. Codenames is just so fun. And I've played the Disney version, I've played the Marvel version, I've played the usual version. All the versions are so fun. Also kind of similarly, because it's kind of similar in a way, I really like Spyfall, though I haven't played that one that much, but that's also fun. And then with favorite strategic game, I'm gonna be a bit what's naming it basic bitch, but I'm gonna say Ticket to Ride. I really enjoy Ticket to Ride. Some people feel like after a while that it's kind of a bit done, a bit boring, but I don't know. I really like it. I suppose any game if you play it too much just after one game it gets boring, but like yeah, sadly I don't play games that often lately because I don't know that many people around me. Hopefully that will fix itself soon. Kind of thinking might, but yeah, at this point in time, I haven't played it that often lately. So yeah, take it right. I really enjoy it. And yeah, I also really like like kind of like quizzes, so like quiz books, just kind of general trivia games like Trivial Pursuits and whatnot. Question for you guys. I do know that quiz. I mean, you can use quiz in English as well. That's the name for quiz in Norwegian as well. But you also say trivia. How do you differentiate between trivia and quiz? Because I think you say pub quizzes, but you also might have trivia nights. Like, is trivia night American thing and quiz a British thing? So I could just Google it, but I'm kind of curious if you guys want to answer me. That would be fun if you want to do that. Anyway, yeah, moving on. And then, so yeah, as I said, mm, there's also like role playing effects that you can buy in Outland. You can buy Warhammer effects and yeah, lots of those kinds of things as well. So here I'm gonna ask you, what's a book? What's a book? Yeah, what's a book that isn't a board game? Because some books, so board game, sorry. What's a book that isn't a board game? I'm gonna say board game. What's a book that isn't a role playing game? Sorry, I just said book so many times. What I meant was, what is an IP that is not at this point in time a role playing game that you want to be? I mean, because right now you can do role playing games with. I'm pretty sure you can do with The Witcher. You can do with the Dresden Files. There's lots of books that are also role playing games. Lots of movies that are role playing games. But one that isn't. What is one that you want to have one? Again, I know this is a bit weird, I suppose, in a way, question. And yeah, gatekeeping myself. But like, I don't do role playing games myself, though I kind of want to do it, but I haven't done it yet. But still, I'm asking the question. My answer, and it's kind of what I've stolen from someone else. But I heard someone talk about how they kind of think it would be very fun to have a role playing game set in a Gilmore Girls world. And yeah, I'm so here for it because there's just so many, just kind of the time aspects of Star Hollow because like so many times there's just weird time mechanics, like time doesn't work or like the days are so long in Star Hollow, so that would be fun to just play around with that. I mean, you could meet Suki, you could meet Miss Patty. I mean, there's so many things you can do. Yeah, I think it's just so fun to like do a role playing thing in that world. It's so fun. So yeah, no, it hasn't happened yet, but suppose might happen in the future. Who knows? Hopefully it will. Sorry. And then next question is giant Lego. So if you don't like, if you're not one of the people who go to Outland often, you could like talk about how like, oh, it's that store with a giant Lego, because at least in Oslo there's, and also I'm gonna think a little moment. No, the one in Oslo, I think, not sure if ever, but at least the one in Oslo has like had a giant Lego outside of the store, like a few uh, meters away from the store entrance to kind of show like, hey, Outland this way. We like sound like Outland this way. Some people think about the store as like the giant Lego store, which they do sell a lot of Legos, and I'm pretty sure they probably might sell some giant ones as well. So yeah, here I'll simply ask you, what's a character you want a giant version of? So like, I mean, sometimes you have like cardboard box uh, versions of like Mr. Darcy and like, yeah, famous characters like that. So yeah, what's a book character you would love a giant version of? For you, I mean, for yourself. This is a question for yourself, not like a giant version. Like, don't go with Charles Dickens. Well, that's not a character, but yeah, go like with the one that you want in your own home, not like the one you think you should change, but like the one you want. Be honest here. Sorry, I'm gonna cheat a bit and say any of the guys. Well, actually, honestly, also the females in Alyssa Cole's world, because they're all so cool and rocking. They all rock, and I just love them so much. And yeah, having a life-size character cut out of all of these characters from Alyssa Cole's books, I think would be very cool. I like the ones from uh, the Civil War books would have very cool costumes on them. The ones from the Monday could have crowns because a lot of them are royals. But like, yeah, I think having any of Lysicle's characters would just be amazing. And then the next prompt is, oh yeah, um, yeah. Next prompt is merch. So as I said, they also sell lots of merch in this bookstore, like with AP merch or Lord of the Rings merch, lots of Disney merch with both cups, and they sell t-shirts, and yeah, like if like MCU merch, if it has merch, it's often sold at Outland. And yeah, there's a lot of things out there that have merch. Also, sadly, at this point, so a lot that doesn't. So yeah, a book that doesn't have merch that you would really love some merch based on it. I'm gonna go with Margot Merch Takes It Down. So yeah, this it is not fantasy based or science fiction based. It is not a retelling, because Outland also sells retelling of stuff, because that's kind of often. I mean, it's kind of tangentially related to classics. So yeah, this and that, but they also do sometimes sell like very cool YA books, and they don't always just sell fantasy, though it's mainly that. But yeah, I think that, I mean, this just has so many quotes to it that I just think will be great as a poster or as a T-shirt or a dress. I think it would just be amazing. So yeah, merch from this book with quotes, like quotes merch, I think would be amazing. So I'm gonna go with this one. And then last but not least, comics. So as I said, yeah, they sell a lot of comics and in this store, Outland. And yeah, I mean, a lot of comics, like they things start as comics and then become turned into movies. Sometimes though, uh, like TV series and stuff, they're cancelled and then they kind of continued as comics. Buffy the Vampire Slayer did this. I think Firefly did this somewhat. I'm not quite sure, but I think it did this somewhat. So yeah, question here for you. Mention a TV series. Though, yeah, I suppose I said TV series. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna change it. Mention an IP that ended abruptly or that ended kind of on a cliffhanger and it hasn't gotten a ending that you want a conclusion to that you think would be cool to have as a comic. Though I suppose it could be most of them. Like sometimes, I mean, think like cool visual and stuff. Here, honestly, I'm gonna go with Legends of Tomorrow. I love that series, and I'm so sad it ended. And I think having it continue with like a season 7 on comics, I think that would just be so cool. I mean, yeah, it's kind of originally based on some comics, but like some of the characters are kind of made for the TV series. So yeah, I think it would be cool fit. And also, um, I mean, yeah, there's been talks on that they might wrap stuff up in the Flash next season, but it's not official. And I think like making a comic book ending is probably much more cheaper than doing sadly but true and filming more episodes. And also, you could just yeah, I think it could be just be lots of fun to having it as a comic book. So yeah, that's my answer. Uh, I really want conclusion to that series and universe, series, story, world. Anywho, and yeah, and that is the Outland book tag. I hope you enjoyed it, that you yeah liked this video, and if you feel like doing it, tag your it. And yeah, you don't have to like be into like all the Marvel and Disney and everything. Just like as long as you feel like there's something like you like fantasy or science fiction, or I suppose you could answer this with like classic. I mean, yeah, I suppose you could answer this if you like classics. You can still answer a lot of these because yeah, these prompts you don't have to answer them fantasy books. You answer them however you want. And yeah, I hope to see you soon. Well, probably will. And yeah, bye.